Hello, welcome to my little video on how basic animation works. Unlike traditional forms of movie making, animation is in a class by itself. It is a way of creating individual images that make it appear that motion is happening. Unlike with a regular film where we put a camera down and we see, as you can see in the studio behind me, we don't do that with animation. We have to create individual images. By definition, animation is giving movement to something that cannot move. And so with a animated film, we have to give motion to those particular characters. So we have to either photograph them or draw them or create them in some way and make them move. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little PowerPoint presentation that I created that will give us kind of the idea of how animation works. Okay, and it's a wonderful process, and unlike what we normally see in films, it is done by very gifted artists that actually have to draw things versus somebody actually acting out or anything like that. Okay, so we're going to start with a couple of really cool motions here. This is how an animated film will occur to us, right? We begin with what's called a cell, and everybody knows what a cell is, right? That's where we put bad guys when they've walked around in a top coat and a top hat or something like that. No. Actually, a cell is short for celluloid, and it is basically a individual piece of the film. Film stock or film is called celluloid. That's what we used to call our movie stars celluloid heroes. So we do that. Now, this is kind of how it works. What we will do is we will have each individual cell is an individual image. And for most of us, we think of film, we think of it in this manner, right? It is a kind of a film strip, and you see the various different frames down there. Each of those frames are an individual image. And then across the top and the bottom, we see the little perforation, which is how we put it through the camera. And then also we put it through the projector to project it up onto a screen. So those individual images have to be created in an animated film because we are not actually capturing something that's going live. It has to be created. So this is kind of how we would do this. We would hire in our artists, and this is what they would do. We'd start with a background. So for our little demonstration today, we're going to have a countertop, right? So we have somebody draw a countertop. So that's going to be our setting of what we're going to talk about today. And then what I'm going to do there is I'm going to add in various items that I want for my film. In this particular situation, I'm going to get a little bit of milk here. I'm going to add some macaroons, which look really good. And because I'm great, I'm going to give you chocolate cake. And chocolate cake is fantastic. All cake is wonderful. The hardest cake out there, of course, is marble, so be careful with that. And cake has a lot in common with golf balls. I'm sure you knew that, right? Especially when you slice them. Okay, anyway, how do we do this? This is what we're going to do. We then have an individual item, and then what we do is we draw another item with a slightly different approach. We've moved something a little bit to be different. We have individual images with slight variations. And then what happens from there is we start to string them together. And as we string them together, you'll notice it makes it look as if the cake is actually moving, when in reality, what I've done is I have given you a bunch of different frames of the same thing. And so it makes it look like it's moving, but it's really not. And that's what animation is all about. It's a string of consecutive frames. It's what we call FPS, or frames per second. And if we send them in front of our eyes, it makes it look like it's moving. In early animation, it was 12 FPS. And then as we got a little later, it was 24 FPS. Today, it can go up to nearly 300 FPS. What does that mean? It means the amount of frames in a second that go by us. Simple math. Higher FPS, clearer the image. Simple as that. So thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, the reason why we put candles on the top of a birthday cake is because it's too difficult to put them on the bottom. See you next time on the pewter.